Club of Windsor has shown a remarkable passion for education and community involvement and support for education. We have, over the years, attracted educators and individuals focused on youth and leadership. This presentation is intended to initiate a conversation on a strategic approach to evolving our recognition and support of scholarships. That is, strategic career development and how we address issues of a ready workforce through our support of education. Another way of saying this is we have established great partners like the Windsor Unified School District and parents and the community at large. We can build on that success. So let's ask, what is Windsor Rotary's big, hairy, audacious goal? If you were in business or a large institution investing time and energy in developing long-term goals and strategic approaches, you would almost certainly have a big, hairy, audacious goal. And it is intended to help you stretch your goals and really plan longer into the future with your planning and strategies. And it asks you to look at a number of things, but primarily what are we deeply passionate about? And then what drives our economic engine? What would make it possible for us to do that? And then finally, but certainly almost the most important, is what can you be the best in the world at? And again, we need to look at our passions and ask ourselves those questions and see what we can be the best in the world at. I don't need to read you these categories, but they do speak loud to how deep and how consistent and how current our passions are. Nobody is much better at scholarships than we are in our community. We've demonstrated with our scholarship program and special scholarships that we recognize special needs. We've gotten out ahead of the curve by introducing the robotics club earlier in the curriculum of our students. We backed the Build Academy. We've sponsored computers in the homes of kids who needed that playing field leveled long before COVID struck. Our most recent effort with the welding and automotive classroom upgrade is clear evidence of our desire to support education. Ongoing partnership with the Culinary and Vineyard Academy, again, shows what we are about. And if you take it even further, our involvement with Youth Exchange and Group Study Exchange shows us how we are willing to leverage our abilities as Rotarians to really follow our passion. So we have confidence in what we're good at. What is the next bite of the elephant? Certainly need to take it slowly but surely. And what do we need to analyze? What analysis needs to be done? First, is it what our club wants and is ready to support? Is it what the students need and want? Do parents and teachers support this type of effort? And will the community and local businesses support additional efforts with their funding and sponsorships? Let's start to think about what we should know and what we should think about. Education is evolving, and it's a must now to view almost all careers as a continuum of education, as opposed to getting a degree and getting a job and fitting into a career path. We need to also be very aware of what does Sonoma County support, What does Sonoma County need? And if you're going to stay in the area, what kind of jobs could you expect to get? And then we need to do a little bit deeper dive on basic skills, which are critical to personal career paths and for that matter, life in general. What kind of education do you need to get a job? We'll take a look at what are the pathways, what are the demands for workers as far as education is concerned. What does a candidate need to qualify for an entry-level position? And we'll ask ourselves, when do we need them and how long does it take to develop them to qualify for having those skills? The chart below should in no way, shape, or form indicate that we're advocating to lowering educational goals or suggest that education does not matter in your financial success and reaching your full career potential. Really what it's looking at is what does it take and how much effort is required for most of the jobs to get an entry-level position. That's very critical, especially if you're looking to gain experience and you're looking to maybe finance your own education, further education to get yourself into the upper brackets of education or value through education. So it's important to note that a good large percentage of the jobs that are being advertised in our area do not require any specific educational threshold. Quite a few only a GED or a high school diploma. And then a smaller percentage in areas where really we have focused for a long time with our assistance and our efforts to promote scholarship. As we look at this list of common skills, it's easy to ask ourselves a couple of really clear questions or questions that can pop out at us. If I look at any one of the clusters of common skills, which one of them wouldn't benefit from having something like firefighting training or firefighting skills, fire safety skills? If I take a look at the areas that require quite a few members of our community to participate in the sales, selling techniques. Are we teaching enough sales? Are we developing sales skills in our school? One that really pops out, valid driver's license requirement. With the very high number of jobs now requiring valid driver's license in our area, and clearly a trend that says more valid driver's license are needed in the past. Should we still not be teaching driver's education in our schools? Those kinds of questions go on and on, I think. We have a number of reasons that those things have been impacted. Heavy focus on the Common Core knowledge transfer tests to see what our students have learned and not the skills they've picked up. A high focus on ensuring that every kid can get into college, and that is the primary way that they will find their way into the higher income brackets. Is been an impact on skills training. We used to have opportunities outside of school that have kind of disappeared. Scouts would be one of those, where a lot of boys and girls learned a lot of life skills that help them become independent, help them become qualified, if you would, for a job. Um, so as we go into our deep dive on this, we need to understand that basic skills um, are no longer being learned on our paper routes or after school jobs or chores around the house or farm. So we need to ask ourselves, when and where do we to begin to teach those? Um, what skills do cross over between the common skills? What are the traditional paths from high school to readiness? Um, Not traditional, transition. What's right way to get from high school into some of the jobs that are out there? And what kind of coalition could we put together to address some of the gaps that are in the transition paths from high school to job readiness? Well, we don't want to spend a lot of time on this particular slide. No analysis will be complete without a hard look at where good money can be made. I think what we're going to need to focus on if we start this is keeping track of what the trends are, keeping track of what's going to be important next year, what's trending up, where we want to go, how the workforce that's qualified is impacting wages, etc. But as far as preparing our students, um, we need to get that focus or refocused on skills that will help them get into the jobs that are available. Again, no pullback on our current support for our schools or our ongoing programs. That should be something that cannot be overemphasized in this presentation. What we are looking to do is add an element of support to continuing education and career kickstarts to our scholarship program. We also would like to stimulate independent study and skills training through elementary and high school. And then finally, we'd like to look at creating a funding mechanism that is focused and sustained. I think by now the concept of kickstarts is clear to all of us. Um, we're very familiar with it in a lot of areas where people get a helping hand starting a business or creating a new product. Why shouldn't we apply it to students who are leaving high school to work and build careers, or to work and sustain themselves while they continue to study in other areas? And also kickstarts for things that become an obstacle. Um, Obviously, tools for an automotive mechanic, hand tools and power tools if you're entering the building trades, even professional tools for food preparation. A good knife set costs $400. Um, Look at it another way. There's certificates and licensing programs that people will need to start out of in their early years. Cosmetology school can take you from $5,000 to $15,000 to get your certificate and your license. A general contractor's license for a handyman requires schooling and fees, and that's going to be over $1,000. So we need to look at how do we kickstart some of these programs and some of these careers. If we agree that Our youth need more life skills to be self-sufficient and employable, then we need to lead the way. One of the things that would be very helpful is to stimulate a life skills program as an elective at the grammar school level. And I think it should be closely modeled on the Scouts Merit Badge program. In our program, we could put an emphasis on work readiness and exploring personal interests. We could also focus on safety and a foundation for emergency preparedness, which is something that every employer really values. We could include community participation by asking our parents and some of our people who are in industry to act as counselors to some of the elements of the Merit Badge program. And we could promote some early skills training with more family involvement in the kind of education that their kid is interested in. And if we attacked it as a community, we could help level the playing field between girls and boys, which is something that the Scouts are attacking pretty aggressively. We could just help that along. And then I think if you took a look at the emphasis on civics and social responsibilities, ethical behavior in the Eagle Scout program, you'll agree that it's something that all of our youth would benefit from. If you get a minute, Google merit badges, go to Wikipedia, and take a look at the long list. I think you'll find it interesting, things that are necessary to, number one, become an Eagle Scout, but also really kind of fit into the kind of skills that we have neglected for any number of reasons. I think that we can go back to some of that and really do our youth a big favor. Our club has stood in awe of students who've appeared before us from our Student of the Month activities, with the amount of personal ambition they've shown and how they can take on elective courses that are advanced placement for college or just for highly skilled honors recognition, and really do well. That same philosophy should spill over into other areas where we could stimulate, we could help build excellence. And things that come to mind clearly are coding, music, art, and technological and innovative activities. If a student is working at that and has an opportunity for independent study, distance learning, or some other kind of skills acquisition, even a private music teacher, for instance, we should figure out ways to promote that and get those skills into our youth. Think about the student who is needing to go to work to support themselves, not be a burden on the extended family or support the extended family, and still wants to be that school teacher or that art teacher in school or the music teacher somewhere down the road. That applies in a lot of different areas. So let's summarize a little bit. We know our passion. We have a passion for youth. We have a passion for education. We know how to administer a lot of these programs and support them. We've done it. We've seen what generates support from our community. and how we can sustain some standalone efforts like our international work. We can be confident that this can and should be justified. And our leadership is in a place for the future so that if we review and get commitments, we can commit, we can develop long-term plans. So the next question is it time to do this?